What's going on, guys? In this video I'm going to be a little all over the place. We do have recent CPI to look over. Haven't really done a video on that lately, sorry it's a bit late, but I want to talk about CPI. We're going to go over what happened with PPI. We're also going to talk about this potential spot Bitcoin ETF approval. Today is the deadline. So let's get into all of this and more. If you like these videos, consider hitting the like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Check out the links down below for some free stocks and cryptos. Let's get started here. First off, Bitcoin's price. We're sitting at $26,700 roughly, and I'm watching an important level. If we break 26.5, I do think we're going to come further down. Maybe if this spot ETF gets delayed, we see Bitcoin break this level. Now you might see along here and say, why is this a level of support? It just bounces all around it. Well, you can tell that once support is established here, it's a really big pivot point. It's a bouncing off point. You'll see back in March 20 of 2023, we whipped up to this point, pulled back, and bounced right out of it, only to then find resistance at about 28,500, which happens to be another very important level to watch. We found resistance there, pulled back, and bounced off that 26.5 again. And when you look at certain areas around this price, it just seems that Bitcoin doesn't want to really stay at this level. It's either going to bounce very hard off of it, or it's going to crash under it and then try to retest. You can see here when we weren't able to break out of it, it fell drastically. Only then did it be picked right back up and break out and cause a huge run again. So you can see there is something to this 26,500 level, and I think it's important that we bounce off of it and don't break it. So I will be looking for that 26.5, and if we start pushing up, this 28.5 is an extremely important level as well. Now let's talk about this Grayscale spot Bitcoin ETF. The deadline is midnight tonight as of this upload. By the time you watch this, it may have already been denied, delayed, or approved. But we are going to find out soon. So keep an eye on the news outlets. We will be hearing something within some hours here. And I'll leave that previous article down below for you. And I'll also leave this one down below as well. And I'll try to leave a link at the end screen or down below to other videos going over kind of what's going on, giving you a little more context here. But essentially, SEC's reason to deny previously, they're saying was basically incorrect. And the SEC now needs a valid response, a valid reason if they're going to continue to delay or deny these Bitcoin ETFs. So right now, everybody's looking at the SEC with a microscope, just watching for their next move. I think they are under extreme pressure right now, and if they do happen to delay this or deny it, they're going to have to come up with a very, very good excuse. Otherwise, they're going to be under some hot water. But in late August, court ruled out that the SEC must accept the filing of Grayscale and give it a thorough consideration. The court ruled that the previous SEC decision to reject the filing of Grayscale was incorrect. And because of this decision, because of saying that the SEC is incorrect in their decision making, Grayscale and its CEO, Michael Sonnenschein, they made a similar move by trying to put out an Ethereum spot ETF. So maybe they have a feeling that approval is right around the corner. And the SEC doesn't necessarily have to make a decision, apparently. It says here that should the SEC fail to deliver their decision, then in a week from now, the case of Grayscale will be closed and the company's legal team can start working with SEC staff to get the process of approval rolling. And here's the tweet. They have until midnight tonight to appeal the Grayscale decision. If they don't, then in 7 days the case will be closed, as I just said. Now in my opinion, there is no reason that they shouldn't approve these spot Bitcoin ETFs. Europe is already ahead of us here. And Europe's first spot Bitcoin ETF did open up in Holland. And this was as long ago as August 15 of 2023, so a few months ago already. We're definitely behind other countries when it comes to the innovation of Bitcoin. And regardless of what happens by midnight tonight, I do think inevitably these spot Bitcoin ETFs will eventually be approved. And it may not happen tonight, it may not happen today, but I do think overall it eventually will happen. But let me know what you guys think about all that. Now, next up, I want to talk about CPI and PPI and where I think things are heading. You'll notice that from the summer of 2022 till now, we have definitely been trending down on inflation, on CPI, and on PPI. And we'll look at PPI in a second, but it nearly became deflationary. However, you will notice over the last few months, inflation has been trending back up. I personally think this trend back up won't last long, and we may see CPI come down in the next month, as soon as the next month. I've noticed where I'm at that a lot of prices are starting to come down since the beginning of October, or specifically late September. And I know this is anecdotal, but throughout September we did start seeing gas prices rise. However, since the beginning of October, I have been noticing personally that gas has been coming down. Towards the end of September, it went as high as where I'm at, roughly like 620. And now here in October, almost the middle of October, gas is down to about $5.50 or so. And hopefully it keeps going down, because we all know that it's much higher than it was a few years ago. And I'll leave this article down below for you too, but I just want to point out that oil prices have been coming down recently. And check this out, seasonally, US gasoline consumption is at the lowest level in 22 years. And a 30% spike in fuel prices in the third quarter of this year depressed demand, resulting in a counter-seasonal plunge of 223,000 barrels per day. And this here just blows my mind. Gasoline stocks rose by 6.5 million barrels, far exceeding expectations of a 200,000 barrel rise. You can see that it looks like we're starting to have a surplus, but we will see where that goes. And since I said I was going to look at it, I'm going to show you PPI as well. You'll see a similar story here with CPI. At the summer of 2022, it hit its peak, started trending down drastically. We reached a point where we were very close to deflationary, negative inflation. Not disinflation, but actual deflation. However, since late summer of this year, we have been starting to slowly trend back up. But look where PPI is at. It's right in the Fed's target of around 2%. Sadly, they're more closely watching CPI and core CPI, but I do personally think it's not long until we see PPI well under 2% again, and see CPI and core under 4 and going into the low 3s. I do think it's just a matter of time. These high interest rates are definitely affecting the market. They're definitely affecting my day-to-day lives, as I'm sure many of you are affected as well. And maybe this potential last final hike could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. But let me know your thoughts about all this down below. Thanks as always for watching, guys, and I hope you have a good weekend.